Forward battle, make no mistake of that. Not that there won't be room for the flair players, like Bradford Bulls' Henry Paul.
Henry, we saw you in excellent form in the World Cup for New Zealand. Are you happy you're going to bring that form into the Challenge Cup?
Let's hope so. But we've had a good off-season, been across Florida, got some new guys in the team, so all around, my play is to hopefully help generate play for the other players.
Now, Bradford won the Challenge Cup last year, and I suppose you get an appetite for it. You want more success.
Definitely. My time at Wigan, my time here with the Bulls has been always to strive for goals and achieve them. And last year was great. This year we want to try and hopefully step up again and repeat the success.
Halifax, the opponents today, and there's a bit of edge between you two sides.
Always has been. History between the local rivals is well documented. The previous season we had the injury to Robbie as well. That adds a little bit of spice to the game. But hopefully the boys, both teams, we're giving them a lot of respect today. But we just want to open, flowing game of rugby. But you try and do anything you can to win to get through the next round, don't you?
Thanks, Henry. Good luck.
And here they come. The Halifax Blue Sox, led by Martin Moana, who played for the New Zealand Maori in the World Cup. In his 7th season, he's the longest-serving player. And Robbie Paul, the Bradford skipper, will have unhappy memories, Joe Lydon, of this ground, because it was here in a brutal game that finished 20-20 in Super League last season that he suffered a couple of fractured ribs and a punctured lung in a challenge from the Halifax prop forward Andy Hobson.
Yes, but Robbie's too professional to let that worry about him. He'll just be concentrating on today's match. Those unhappy memories will be out of his mind. He'll just be trying to be the architect behind Bradford, forcing them forward and producing excellent skills. Jamie Peacock, also a player who we mentioned before the start of this match, direct running powerhouse in the second row forward for Bradford.
Yeah, 6 tries in the World Cup for Jamie Peacock, and there's the man that we focused on a little earlier for the Blue Sox, Andrew Doonerman, their Australian standoff half, former North Queensland and South Sydney player. His kicking stats in Super League were bettered only by Sean Long last season, which is testament indeed. The match officials, there was a request from both sides, given the recent history between these clubs, for a strong official, and they've got one there in Russell Smith from Castleford. The touch judges in the background on the left, Steve Taylor and Keith Leyland, and 1 or 2 problems with 3-year-old Ben Hizzard, who's one of the Blue Sox mascots today. Beth O'Neill from the local Savile Park School also there, but Ben Hizzard, the son of the club's media manager, chosen for this big day.
Says, yeah, your kick, lads. Best of luck, lads. Enjoy it. Yeah, darling, take that off with you. Good luck, lads.
And we should also have a word for the ground staff here, who have worked wonders to get this pitch fit. Russell Smith was here early this morning, along with Greg McCallum, the director of rugby at the Rugby Football League, to see whether they could play this game. There was severe doubt about it, but they passed the pitch fit at 9 AM, and they have no regrets about that decision.
Hang on, Henry.
And the only player coach in Super League, Gary Mercer, getting ready for kickoff. He is a former Bradford player, by the way, and a huge roar greets the kickoff, and here is Gary Mercer, bouncing straight into and away from Joe Banganar. 2 New Zealanders of different stature, but like minds.
Just watch the opening clashes in this game, because there is pressure on. It's going to be a hothouse out there, and the first exchange is crucial to how this game will go.
I'd be accused of stating the blindingly obvious if I tell you that the team in Blue Sox are the Halifax Blue Sox. But there might be 1 or 2 people that wonder, so Halifax are playing from the left.
You'll expect them to kick pretty early in this set. It is a small field here at the New Shea, and with the conditions being flat but very, very firm, you'll expect the ball to bounce as well, so I would expect kicks to come in pretty soon here from Doonerman.
And it is Doonerman's high kick, testing out Stuart Spruce, the full-back, who I don't know whether he even laid a hand on the ball. I think Russell Smith thinks that he did.
Oh, well, great result, great kick from Doonerman. Full pressure on Stuart Spruce, he couldn't collect it, and it just skipped into touch, just short of the corner flag. Great kick.
And it did go via Spruce's hand. John Holdsworth, the former Challenge Cup final referee, an extra official appointed by the Rugby Football League today to act as a minder to the 2 benches, just in case passions on the field transfer themselves to the dugouts as well. Bradford with a clear weight advantage in the pack. And with the ball through Duneman, and now Adam Hughes back with Duneman.
Almost obstruction there by Duneman, but just kept hold of the ball. Wise. Here's Mercer charging forward towards the try line.
Gary Mercer, possibly in his last season as a player, now 34. Here's Andy Hobson, held by Brian McDermott. 5 metres out, the Blue Sox, wanting to strike first. Duneman to Damien Gibson, who juggles, finds Jamie Bloom, the South African winger.
Don't drop on him, the tackle made you flopped on a second time.
Well, the referee just saying that there was a second effort there, flopping on Jimmy Bloom. Joe Wagner, guilty. He's trying to slow things down. They were under pressure, Bradford, but they defended well, and that's a bit of a blow because it was good field position that the Halifax Blue Sox had, and Bradford were holding them out.
Well, Halifax are going to have a pot shot at goal. Trying to get off the mark first.
You've got the penalty. When I blow, that's away.
One or two words of advice to Jamie Bloom, who's going to be the kicker today. Interestingly, the Halifax coaching staff invited the former England Rugby Union fullback Simon Hodgkinson along this week for a couple of days of tuition, and he held a competition between the 4 candidates to kick. Gavin Clinch, Adam Hughes were a couple of the others, but he decided that Jamie Bloom, in the absence of a Frano Botica, a sort of 90% success kicker on the Halifax staff, he decided that Bloom is the best bet.
Let's see if that decision is justified.
These rugby union people tend to be good judges, Joe, don't they?
Well, we'll see now. Halifax desperate to come away with 2 points in these opening exchanges. And Bloom has the chance.
No!
Well, he struck it well, but just wide. No points on that occasion for Jamie Bloom or the Halifax Blue Sox.
Just wonder whether that's something that may cost Halifax today if it is a very tight game. There is a modicum of concern that they don't have a really consistent goal kicker. We shall see. Here's Bloom.
Straight back in the action. You mentioned there about goal kicking, but I also think that maybe drop goals will play a part today. If the game does go close
Here's
for the
Mercer.
duration, well then they'll be looking to take 1 point whenever they get the chance. Duneman in particular.
This is Jim Gannon, one of a number of Australians in this Halifax side, 6 of them in total, a couple of New Zealanders, 1 South African. Means that English players are actually in a minority in the Blue Sox lineup today, whereas only 7 of Bradford's 17 are non-English. Clinch with the kick towards the line, Gibson's after it, back goes Withers, and Withers is penned inside his own area, but he's found an escape route through Stuart Spruce.
Well, remarkable piece of play, great footwork to get out of the in-goal area by Withers, and putting the pass in as well, a little bit risky, but just got Bradford out of trouble because it would have been a drop out under the post should he be tackled in the in-goal area.
Michael Withers, just catching a first glance of him today, seems to have had his hair coloured for the occasion. It's a golden hue now. This is James Lowes though, and now Mike Forshaw.
That was a good passage of play from Bradford, because even when the big hits are coming in defence, little passes, just wrong foot in the defence.
Henry Paul. The knock on by Cardis.
Well, Cardis seemed to do everything right. He turned his body just in case he knocked it, so he could push it backwards towards his own line and not a knock on, but it spilled over his left shoulder. Never had control of it. Not the hardest of kick to take, but the pressure is definitely on. Daryl Cardis spilling the ball, so a great chance for Bradford.
Halifax, back 3, Martin, hold your back 3. Andrew! Alright, lads, we're alright, have a minute. Gary, Shane, Martin, stay in the pack till it's out, lads. Andrew!
Russell Smith laying down the rules early in the game.
Stay on side.
Here's Robbie Paul. And Robbie Paul almost scampered through himself. Withers at dummy half. McDermott. Now James Lowes. Spreading it to Jamie Peacock. And the tackle coming in from Lawless. Impassioned supporters on three sides of this Shea ground, roaring either approval or worry. McDermott did well to hang on. Lowe's, Joe Banganar, nearly 19 stone of him. And now Lowe's, who's so dangerous close in.
Well, that's a try. So much time for James Lowe's, and he doesn't need it. He had options left and right, and when the Halifax Blue Sox were slow to take him in defence, he just crossed for the try. I think maybe Robbie and Henry Paul behind him were looking for the kick, but there was no need, because James Lowe's takes the ball up from this Wagner drive. Spots that the markers are slow to make a move forward. Cardis, in particular, steps out and leaves the gap, and James Lowe's is an expert at taking those chances.
Moves on to Nelson in his career, his 111th career try, onto which 2 more points are tagged by Henry Paul.
Halifax had defended so well in that set of 6, but then just one little lapse. Cardiff stepping out too far and leaving the gap on the inside. And 6 points for Bradford.
3,000 Bradfordians, some of them with musical accompaniment, and 3,500 Halifax supporters in this crowd.
Time, please. Time off. Summer ball.
In that last set of 6,
We've got to get off
Halifax
quick,
were a little bit lucky.
I
thought that the captain Moana may have been penalised for just flopping, the same as Bradford had done on the early occasion. I think in hindsight he would have liked to have 2 points against him rather than the 6.
It's a shorter kick-off by Halifax, something they've been working on in training. It's not worked out in their favour, and here comes the first disagreement of the afternoon. It's fairly safe to say it's unlikely to be the last.
Henry! Jim! Henry!
Henry Paul just trying to collect the ball quickly. Bit of a push me, pull you.
Jim Gannon was the Halifax offender.
It's a knock on here, mate. Up 20 metre, yeah. Nice and steady.
Nothing too serious.
Stay in the pack, Martin. Get in, Andy.
And Forshaw picking up from the base of the scrum. These two sides met 4 times last season. One game was drawn here, 20 points apiece. There was another narrow win in the Challenge Cup, in fact, at the quarter-final stage for Bradford on this ground. Another narrow win on this ground for Bradford in a third Super League fixture between the sides, and then a 62-2 hammering by Bradford of Halifax at Odsal in the league return.
Come here. Get the finger down and relax. Put it down and get on with it.
Relax.
There's an optimist.
Yeah, a bit of a high shot going in, and then Duneman makes a tackle, and the referee, Russell Smith, just telling Mike Forshaw to stop pointing and get on with the game. But I think relax was the wrong word to use in this encounter.
So concerned were the authorities by the potential for poor behaviour on the field of play in this game that they just did issue a special edict only on Friday, warning of the standards that are expected. But the standards on the field of Bradford are impressive, and here's Robbie Paul, ever so many dummies on his route to the line, and Bradford are flying.
Individual brilliance from the Paul brothers. Robbie Paul scoring the try. We mentioned before the disappointment he had and the pain and the injury sustained here at the New Shea last season. It's completely out of his mind on this occasion. The long ball to his brother, and then the run around. Spots that the defence has come up staggered, goes through, uses support as a foil. 2 dummies and steps inside for the try. Fantastic awareness and skill from Robbie Paul, the captain of Bradford Bulls. Just watch now as he loops around his brother, steps inside, has enough pace to go, and also vision. Uses the inside support runners just to hold off the defence, and crosses for Bradford's second try.
And defensively, Halifax haven't really been at the races.
Two chances for Bradford, 2 tries, and 12-0 the advantage.
Paul the Younger scoring the try, set up by Paul the Elder.
This from pitch level, you can see the cheers coming across from the Halifax Blue Sox. Obviously worried about the support players and just hanging off Robbie Paul, and that's one thing you can't afford to do. Daryl Cardis wrong-footed as Robbie scores.
So the holders of the Challenge Cup, having won the trophy at Murrayfield last April for the first time in 51 years, in no mood to give up their title lightly. Let's go down to pitch level. We've just seen a shot from there, and we can join our pitch side reporter Damien Johnson.
Yeah, I've got Daryl Shelford from the Bradford Bulls coaching staff. Daryl, delighted with the start.
Yeah, the first 2 sets were a bit off. They got a 40-20 on us and had 3 sets at us, but quite happy to get the ball back, and we've run in a couple of tries.
Fantastic effort from Robbie Paul a moment ago.
Definitely. Looking forward to more.
Thanks, Daryl.
This is Peacock,
Get off.
gaining decent ground. 12 points to 0, and a very positive opening by Bradford. Loads. Henry Paul. It's one for the young wingman Lee Greenwood. Cardis not necessarily have thanked his winger for that pass. Adam Hughes, signed in the close season from Wakefield Trinity Wildcats. Hughes actually played for Wakefield against the Bulls in round 5 last year. A game at Bellevue that Wakefield lost 46-0. There'll be unhappy echoes of that scoreline at this moment, with Halifax yet to register. Clinch. Moana misses Gibson to find Bloom, and Bloom not quite with the legs to get away. Gavin Clinch.
High enough but not long enough from Clinch. And Bradford can afford to let that one bounce into touch. Clinch was looking to put that a lot deeper, put some pressure on Stuart Spruce, the Bradford fullback. Had the high Clinch but not the distance.
Gavin Clinch, who was part of the Halifax team that finished 3rd in Super League 3 years ago under John Pendlebury. But then financial problems hit home at the club, and in the last 2 seasons they've been in the lower half of the table, 9th and then 8th last year.
Just a minute, lad, just have a
But
second.
with high hopes
Andrew!
of improving on that this time around.
Stay in the pack, Halifax, stay in, Martin.
Henry Paul. So many talents available to Brian Noble, who's sitting in the embryonic structure of the East Stand on the far side of the field. This is first real test as the newly appointed coach of the Bulls. And here's Joe Vanganar, one of his 5 new signings.
And that's the reason they bought him. They brought him across to New Zealand from the Auckland Warriors for barnstorming runs such as that.
Forshaw. Lee Gilmore. He came from Wigan in the close season. Now Lowe's. Forshaw. Bradford doing well to keep the ball alive with Michael Withers. And Withers allowed to run laterally. Ten metres out from the Halifax line, which has already been breached twice. The kick by Lowe's. Here's Brian McDermott, and Cardis, after an unhappy opening to this match, did well to get across.
Had to use all his speed to get there just to clear that one away from McDermott's reaches. Another good kick in behind the Bradford defence by James Lowe's. Lovely weight to the kick. And Cardis, the Blue Sox fullback, only just getting there.
There's an injury worry here, Joe, for Halifax. I think it's Gavin Clinch, the scrum half, who's down behind his own post. In the aftermath of Daryl Cardis kicking the ball dead. Yes, it is Clinch. And he does look to be in some discomfort. Helen Smith, the Blue Sox physiotherapist, doing her best to get him back on track. His partnership with Duneman, one of the reasons why Halifax have reasonably high hopes for the season ahead. McDermott. We saw the other McDermott, Barry of Leeds, have a mighty game against Castleford in our first televised tie yesterday. Here's Gartner, Forshaw finding half a gap. And Bradford looking exceptionally dangerous every time that they move towards that Halifax line. Henry Paul. Now Brian McDermott will do little with it. Lowe's. Peacock.
Four, release, get up. Wait, Fox, get up, four.
Scott Naylor.
Five, good run. Hands off in five.
Last tackle. Bradford go to the air with Henry Poor. High towards Gilmore. Withers waits, Bloom takes.
Jimmy Bloom did exceptionally well there, just to hold his ground, keep his eye on the ball and put his arms up and snatch that one from the skies. I'll expect quite a few more of those, particularly Darryl Cardi's dropping that high kick. The crossfield kicks will cause problems.
Andy Hobson tackled. Now, how is Gavin Clinch? That's one of the questions that will be occupying the Blue Sox coaching staff. We can rejoin Damien.
Yeah, you saw him having some treatment behind the post there. He's a key figure, of course, for Halifax, back in his second spell after trips to Wigan and Huddersfield. He's got a bit of a hamstring tweak, and they're keeping an eye on him.
Hold your 10, lads. All right, John. Wait. Bradford, don't move.
Halifax will take the tap 5 metres inside their own half. Gavin Clinch moving rather more freely. And one of the problems of having a building site on one side of the ground is that we keep losing the ball.
Nice little rest for the players. I think Halifax will
Hold your 10, Bradford, don't Henry, don't come on.
feel it's more beneficial to themselves because Bradford have started really well. Time in possession was in Bradford's favour.
Lawless. Gannon turning it back to Lawless. Shane McMenemy. Another of the Australian contingent, signed from Oldham. Clinch. Duneman. Oh, it was behind Gibson and picked up by Robbie Paul.
I would suggest that came off Robbie Paul's arms. Could have been a knock-on, but Bradford will take the chance if they can.
Well, one or two looks from the Halifax players towards Russell Smith, but he just shook his head. Lowe's to Robbie Paul.
Come on, come on!
This is Daniel Gartner, bouncing off Lawless. Another promising position for the Bulls. Mangana. James Lowe's. Lovely change of direction, and then it was Cardis that got a hand to the pass, but it's all on, having come off a Bradford hand. Forshaw. McDermott. The penalty's been given. Russell Smith's patience ran out.
This is going to be tough for Halifax to defend because they already were back-to-back sets
What
against
about
them.
4 or 5 I could have penalised there.
You were saying that 4 or 5 people offside. Not a hard decision for him. And an easy decision too for Bradford here to take the 2 points on offer from the penalty. Hold him down. But a few people offside as well.
Bradford couldn't really have planned for a better, more successful opening quarter to this game than the one that they've had.
No, as Henry Paul attempts this to convert the penalty successfully. Brian Noble will be pleased because it's just the start he wanted. He knew it was going to be a pressure game. He knew there's going to be a lot of intensity. But his team has started well. They've started with a little bit of flair. They've taken their chances as well, probably scoring on 3 of the 5 occasions that they've been inside the Halifax half with chances to score.
There's Brian Noble sitting up, not on his own, but with a couple of members of his coaching staff on the concrete struts that will eventually become the East Stand. He'll be very happy with the situation at the moment.
I've got Gary Morby down here on the touchline. He's the assistant coach with the Halifax Blue Sox. Gary, you're under the cosh first 20 minutes.
Yeah, we are. Yeah, it's it's the old story, isn't it? It's about completion rate, keeping hold of the ball, controlling the football, making the yards, getting good field position. We're coughing too much ball up. You can't do that against the side of Bradford's capabilities.
It's as hard as it was billed in the papers.
Yeah, I'm sure it is. Yeah, but it's early doors, and we just need to settle down, get some composure, and then get in amongst it. We need some points on board, though.
Let's see if you can do it. Thanks, Gary.
McDermott managed to get it away to Lowe's. Now Jamie Peacock. Steve Linnane on the left there, the assistant coach of Halifax. He's got lots of worries. One of them is Scott Naylor. And now James Lowe's. Bradford hurling the ball about with some abandon. Too much abandon. But they nearly abandoned the ball. Robbie Paul. Forshaw. Could be in again. Cardis hangs on.
That's a try.
Forshaw reached out. Russell Smith has looked and concurs with you, Joe. It's a third try for the Bradford Bulls.
There was a slight doubt in my mind whether this pass was forward to Forshaw, but he reached out and planted the ball bang on the line, and that is a try. There was no problem with that. It's just whether the pass from Henry Paul was forward. The long ball to Robbie. Sorry, Robbie Paul it was, you put it back on the inside. It looked great from that angle. Brian Noble and the Bradford players will be delighted. But you've got to say that Russell Smith, the referee, was in the right position. Just watch the inside pass here as he delays it. Now it seemed to travel laterally. And again, Bradford increasing their lead and showing that they can play with skill as well as intensity.
Fourth successful kick of the afternoon from Henry Paul. 20 points to 0 in favour of the cup holders.
Just forcing the pass a little bit too much, Bradford, but the result is the right one. They're probably more dangerous when they have broken play. So unpredictable when you have Robbie and Henry Paul at half-back. The forwards like Forshaw to back up and support.
Once more, the short kick-off by Bloom for Halifax. We must be fearing that this tires beyond them already. 20 points in 22 minutes. And here comes the formidable figure of Paul Anderson.
Just when you think things are going to calm down a little bit and Halifax may get some possession in which to work with, they bring on Anderson just to up the intensity again.
And Stuart Fielden. The two props spelled, Vanganar and McDermott. And for once the pass goes astray from Henry Paul, picked out by Shane McMenemy for the Blue Sox. Halifax had a comfortable win at Barrow. 11 tries, hat-tricks for Cardis and Hughes in round 4 a fortnight ago. Bradford also put 50 points past Widnes on their own midden at Valley Parade, which is their home for the next 2 seasons, whilst the vast bowl of Odsal is redeveloped. Lawless. Clinch. Now Jim Gannon. This is one of 7 Challenge Cup ties being played this afternoon at the 5th round stage. We have the quarter-final draw coming up. Super League, Huddersfield at home to Doncaster of the NFP, narrowly in front. That's one of the other outstanding ties at the Boulevard. London have started well against Hull. Oldham in front against Super League opposition in Wakefield. That's where one of the shocks could come. Rochdale against the remaining French representatives, narrowly ahead early on against Villeneuve. And Lee, the heroes of the last round, we televised their thrilling win against Salford. They're also in front, admittedly very early at Wilderspool. Whitehaven against St Helens, the favourites for the Super League title. Good start by Whitehaven, but St Helens with their noses in front. So that's the situation around the country. Most of the games rather closer than this one, Joe.
Yes, because Bradford have just dominated the opening exchanges of this match. They've had all the possession, they've certainly had territorial advantage, and they've taken the chances. Not the best kick from Henry Paul to touch from the penalty.
We can see Andy Hobson down here on the bench. He's had a bit of a knock to the eye. It's causing him some irritation, and he's come off as a precaution. I don't know whether he'll see any more action this afternoon.
Here goes Anderson. Huge gap. Gartner's in. It's another Bradford try. And it's a first for the club for the newly arrived Daniel Gartner.
Well, the 28-year-old former Northern Eagle from Australia flies onto this pass, but it's Anderson that does the damage. The little inside pass from Robbie Paul powers straight through the defence. You've got to say it's pretty weak. And on the inside, waiting for the pass, is Daniel Gardner to score. But how will you stop big Paul Anderson coming straight in the middle, at speed, on the inside, against the grain of the defence. Weak defence though it was, and has the presence of mind just to put the ball back inside to find the support play of Gardner for the try.
Henry Paul, again.
The pattern continues. Very simple formula. They're just pushing the passes, but it's paying off because they're making little dents in the Halifax defence and turn them into explosive runs and then tries and points. Anderson again, 2-3 tacklers as Cardis comes in to make the final attempt. He just pushes the pass inside for the try.
Abi Ikoku, the chief executive of the Bradford Bulls in the background there. Former player who actually turned out for them in the 1997 Challenge Cup final when they lost to St Helens. He'll be very happy with this, and the prospect of a lucrative quarter-final quite possibly to follow.
Jim Gannon just trying to up the temperature and up the intensity for Halifax. Bradford push it wide again, not frightened to throw it. Scott Naylor making a charge down the right.
Four tries and 5 goals for Bradford so far.
Advantage line running as well. Anderson again taking the ball off Henry Paul. Lateral pass.
And whilst we've been talking about the happy Bradford camp, there'll be no one more disappointed with the way things are turning out than the player coach Gary Mercer out there.
But that just tells the story of the stat there. 11 offloads in the tackle, and it makes Halifax work extra hard with very little reward. 11 offloads, and the result is frustration and penalties. They're playing at such pace. Halifax are doing their utmost to try and slow things down and get a grip to this game. Another penalty to Bradford, another great position too, as Anderson again charges forward, screams for a forward pass, but the referee again bang on the spot.
This time the tackling was rather firmer. Robbie Paul, jinking and spinning.
Get off! Let him up, Brett!
Adam Hughes with blood coming from a wound to his lower lip. And this is Fielder for Bradford. Lowe's. Gartner. Then Stuart Spruce.
Get off! Wait!
Still less than half an hour played. Here's Forshaw.
5, release!
Lowe's. Chipped through. Gartner found his way towards the line, blocked by Gibson.
You can almost hear the sigh of Gerald Cardis there, just relief that that ball did go that extra metre. I'm struggling to remember the last time that Halifax were in Bradford's half of the field.
Here's Mercer.
This certainly is a fearsome encounter. We've just seen Shane McMenemy, Halifax Blue Sox recent signing from Oldham, come off. He's got a wound to his mouth which is gushing out blood, and it may need stitches. We'll see.
Penalty is Halifax's. Kick dispatched by Duneman. Construct a case for me, Joe, to suggest that Halifax can get back into this game.
They can, but they have to start taking some chances, but they also have to try and mount some kind of pressure, sustained pressure, because Bradford can defend all day around about the halfway line. They have to get down here where they are at the moment and cause some problems.
All the problems at this stage are with Halifax. Duneman. Now Davidson. Offload to Gibson, and now Adam Hughes. Lawless. Shaped a pass to Davidson and then kept it himself. Halifax desperately needs something from this set of 6. Clinch to Mercer, and the player coach is in. The try is going to be given again, a flat pass.
which the Bradford players may suggest was slightly forward, but we'll have another look at it. Clint's just holding onto the ball and then pushing the pass sideways to his player coach, Gary Mercer. This is a great angle to see it, that it is flat, it is good, and it's the try that Halifax so desperately needed from the captain player coach. Duneman pushing it wide to Clint. That's the partnership that Halifax hope will produce the goods. On the fringes, player coach Gary Mercer, so experienced, and I think a little relieved that Halifax eventually have got some points.
And Jamie Bloom will try and convert. Successfully. A small indentation made on Bradford's substantial lead.
From the other angle, Clinch's pass just late enough to cause problems for Bradford.
And the try for Gary Mercer, who played his first Challenge Cup tie 13 years ago, 1988, for Bradford Northern as they then were, against Wigan at Central Park. The game, I think, Joe, finished 2-0 in Wigan's favour, and remind me who kicked the decisive penalty.
If you ask Brian Noble, it was taken, the penalty was kicked by me, but it was taken a little bit further forward than the penalty was actually awarded for.
A charge that you deny to this day, no doubt.
Of course. A win's a win.
This is Gavin Clinch.
What Halifax can't afford to do now is make a mistake in their own half. Having just scored that try, having given themselves a little bit of hope before the half-time, they have to complete the set of 6 and get back into Bradford's half of the field.
Brett Goldspink, former Wigan and St Helens prop forward. To get the ball out of the tackle to Darryl Cardis, who, when he gets going, is as quick a player as there is in Super League. Duneman flings it out. Damien Gibson held right on the halfway line. See the markings of the centre circle on the pitch. This, as we were mentioning earlier, a shared venue with Halifax Town Football Club, who played here yesterday. Here's Vicona. A surging burst to Michael Withers. Withers looks for support. Will he need it? Yes, he does. It's Lee Gilmore, who's half tackled, but Gilmore is in.
Another try for Bradford and one for the new boy, Gilmore.
Like Daniel Gartner, his first try for the club.
And what a try too, just again proving that Bradford have all the elements and the ingredients for a great side. Tavita Vicona taking the ball, charging through the defence, a kick that looked quite promising for Halifax, and then support play, Withers onto Gilmore, and the sliding defence just can't prevent him scoring the try. Great play. Here's Vicona straight in the middle of the field from the kick, took it at full pace. The step from Withers, needs support, and in numbers it is. It's Gilmore that receives and Gilmore that gets the try.
Henry Paul, as is his habit, taking plenty of time, of setting mind and body. Well, it's an effort that seems to work.
This is a marvellous try, a team that is playing with so much confidence. Confidence in their own ability and in their teammates. Tavita Vicona beating men then passing. Withers doing likewise. And Gilmore pleased to score his first try for his new club.
Lee Gilmore, who lives on the outskirts of Bradford, hails originally from Backley, and so for a number of years was having to travel across the M62 to train and play for Wigan. Now back playing much more locally and making his mark too. Forshaw.
Top tacklers, Halifax having to do the work. 14, Johnny Lawless in the middle of the field. Henry Paul not shy as well, putting 12 tackles in.
Spruce. Lowe's. Robbie Paul. Juggle by Anderson. He felt that he was caught slightly high by Moana. Gartner.
Inside the last 5 minutes before half-time. And the half finishes pretty much as it's been for most of the first 40, and that's with Bradford in command and having chances to score tries.
And here's Withers. Withers tried the overhead pass, which came off a Halifax player. And so Bradford can continue with 6 more. And that might be 6 too many for Halifax. Henry Paul. Vicona. Explosive runner. Lowe's. Anderson.
They stretch, they have numbers right and left, Bradford. Seems there are gaps everywhere. The middle is quite tightly packed.
Wait on your line! Wait!
Henry Paul bundled over by Jim Gannon, but it's play on, and it's another try. No, it isn't.
Just a little bit of a forward pass. Yeah, Forshaw trying to return the favour. Put a pass in for Robbie Paul to score, but the referee on the spot again, Russell Smith, and saying that one was just a touch forward, and I think he was right.
Nice and steady, get in, we're all right.
Duneman. Hughes. Got a long way to go. It's a jarring tackle. Mercer.
I was suggesting this game will be played at high intensity, but I'm sure Halifax are wondering, of all the effort they've put in to only have 6 points on the board and see 32 in Bradford's favour, not the half, not the start of this game that they would have wanted.
Goldspink.
Get up in! In low! Ball, release! Back!
Here's Gavin Clinch. Well, that has defied all angles of geometry and staying in play. And here's Vicona.
Again, noticeable that Bradford aren't afraid to just force the pass. Maybe when you wouldn't expect them, certainly when Halifax wouldn't expect them to do so. That first half possession, 64, a massive 64%, and time in opponent's half, 59 in favour of Bradford, 59%, and the scoreboard reflects that, because they've just dominated from the start of this first half, right up until the whistle in the half-time interval.
Tries for a forward pass from the Halifax players, and indeed their supporters.
Donovan Martin, Gavin Clinch beats the ball. Away, lads. They're two in the tackle. Gavin Clinch pinched it as Martin Moana had hold of him.
Quite a simple explanation. 2 men in the tackle. Gavin Clinch took the ball out just as Martin Moana arrived.
It's a weary looking Gavin Clinch. 2 balls on the pitch at the moment, which is proving confusing. Forshaw's hurled the spare one away.
It was the one that Paul Anderson had, the Halifax players had to worry about.
Gilmore. Lowe's. Forshaw. Back with James Lowe's. Now Stuart Fielder. There's a purpose and a precision about all Bradford's work. Half-time approaching. Bradford set more blood. Peacock couldn't get the ball away. Tangible relief amongst the Halifax contingent at the sounding of the half-time hooter, which comes with a scoreline of 32 points to 6 in Bradford's favour attached to it. What have you made of it, Joe?
Well, with 5 tries and 100% kicking, coach of the Bradford Bulls, Brian Noble, will be delighted with that start. He knew it was going to be a tough encounter, but they have dominated the Bradford Bulls. and leading 6 points to 32.
Down here on the touchline, I've got Carl Harrison, assistant coach with the Bradford Bulls. Carl, you've taken a real grip on this game.
We started off, we knew it was going to be tough early doors, and we got off to a flying start, and we've carried the momentum on, and it's one process after another. We're just grinding the sets out now, and Halifax is struggling to stay with us. You served Halifax with distinction for so many years. Any mixed feelings of that today? Not at all, mate. Very professional. Thanks very much.
Discussions between Henry Paul and Scott Naylor as they leave the pitch, but the formidable display by the cup holders has meant that it's looking highly likely that they are going to place their name alongside that of last season's beaten finalists, the Leeds Rhinos, in the quarter-final draw, which follows the conclusion of this game. Steve Linnane, wearing the two-tone blue jacket nearest the camera there, the assistant coach of Halifax, with much work to do. Is it possible to turn this round? We'll find out in the next 40 minutes, but one would have to say the balance of probability is heavily against it. And for Bradford, really, there are smiles and not looks of relaxation, but looks of pleasure at how it's gone. 32 points to 6 in favour of the Bradford Bulls at half-time here at the Shea.
About to get underway, the Halifax Blue Sox versus the Bradford Bulls. Let's rejoin John Champion.
Bradford are back with us, Halifax are joining us, and we can quickly look at the half-time scores from the other 6 matches being played today. Huddersfield having a real tussle with Doncaster from the Northern Ford Premiership. London ahead early on at Hull, but Hull have come back strongly. Oldham 2, Wakefield 6 is another interesting one. Villeneuve giving Rochdale Hornets a good game. Whitehaven 10, St Helens 20, a little closer than we might have expected, but the real shock there, if it is a shock, Warrington 0, Lee 4. Are Lee going to do to Warrington what they did to Salford in the last round of the competition? The draw for the quarter-finals follows the conclusion of this, our live offering from the Shea. 32 points to 6 in favour of the cup holders, the Bradford Bulls, and Halifax, battered and bruised, about to get us underway in this second half through Jamie Blue.
Keep behind, lads. Keep back. Right, Jamie,
16 points to the Paul brothers between them. And they've totally dominated the Halifax halfbacks, Duneman and Clinch. Bradford have sent on Paul Deacon in place of Robbie Paul at the start of this second period. Nice luxury to have.
Well, there'll be no loss of structure or organisational skills with Paul Deacon on the field.
And this is Deacon, easily recognisable, as you can see, and extremely talented.
Well, Bradford have dominated the game, largely to the credit of the Paul brothers, Henry Paul having a great first half. Attacking runs 6 and tackles made 12, working both sides of the ball. Passes given 18, those have been telling passes as well, and tackles 12. It's where those passes have taken place though, and the result of them as well, Bradford taking the chances.
Cardis took the kick fairly consummately. We've seen one side of the story through Henry Paul. We've also been tracking Andrew Duneman in the course of this game as well.
Well, I suggest that his stats wouldn't show much difference. I'm sure he's been involved equally and had as much or almost as much. He has attacking runs 5, tackles made 10. He's had to do a little bit of work on defence. Passes given 11, tackles made. But what the true story of those stats is where the game has been played, and a massive advantage to Bradford, taking opportunities in their opponent's half. Almost 8 minutes longer time in possession for Bradford in that first half.
That's Duneman's kick. Spruce, met by Gannon. When as I met, maybe clattered would have been a better description. Spruce has got up.
Well, that's the bounce of the ball we mentioned. This surface is quite firm still.
Here's Withers.
With very little sunshine thawing out the pitch, and the ball does bounce quite high. Spruce allowed it to, and almost paid dearly for it. First half possession 65% in favour of Bradford.
Scott Naylor, worryingly, the gaps are still there, and Scott Naylor's found a huge one, and despite the tug on the tail end of the shirt, he's over for another Bradford try. They're carrying on in this second half as they were in the first.
It was noticeable too that Mike Forshaw was at the heart of that. He's set up the try for Naylor, another surging run. His wear rate has been absolutely excellent. He offloads the ball here, not again afraid to, and just push the pass. Deakin back on the inside. A nice little step from Naylor. Looks like he's out of support and nowhere to go, and just mesmerises the defence of Halifax to score. Same old story. James Lowes again. Here is Forshaw running at the heart of defence. Realises there's nowhere to go now as the Blue Sox close in. Pushes the pass out. Not the best. Collected by Henry Paul. And then Deakin back on the inside. And Naylor stepping, elusive, evasive. Gary Mercer can't get there. And Scott Naylor scores. Bradford 6. And Henry Paul continues with his 100% record.
Henry Paul, who set a new club record last season of 404 points and 179 goals, and he's getting plenty more kicking practice today.
I'm sure the half-time talk from Halifax, from Gary Mercer there chasing, was to say that we have to cut the space down, we have to make sure of our tackles, and they've reneged on it.
Scott Naylor, only 2 games in 2 years at Wigan, 6 years at Salford, and there's your old friend Ryan Noble in the middle of that picture. We went to see him a little earlier in the week just to preview this match, and he was reliving old times of Great Britain tours with you. Joe, something about an invalid car in Perpignan, he was telling us.
No idea what he's talking about, but he's making his mark as a coach, and it's good to see that Bradford are playing the type of football that Brian likes to see.
That was a bit of a verbal sidestep, Joe. Vicona.
Okay, let go, Jamie, let go. It's silly.
Just occurs to me that we haven't seen Shane Regon yet for Bradford, who's reckoned to be as explosive as they come. It's the last thing that Halifax need to encounter. Henry Paul to Naylor. Stuart Spruce.
Just great play again from Bradford, just little passes, waiting for the defender to commit himself and then pop on a little pass inside. James Lowes chips over the top, that won't go dead. Cardis will have to bring it back in the field of play. Good chase from Bradford, just constant pressure from Bradford. They're even forcing the players back, Halifax, once the tackle is made, pumping the legs, moving them backwards constantly.
Blue.
On a few occasions that Halifax do get the ball. You see the offloads there in the tackle. Bradford a massive 19. You were suggesting cup football, it may be a bit risky, but it's paid off. But when Halifax get the ball, and the few occasions they do, there's just this white wall. Again, 2 players hammering Gary Mercer backwards.
Davidson. Formidable Cumbrian forward. But formidable is not an adjective you could attach to Halifax so far today. It's unfortunate for them that on this big day for them, they really haven't performed. Part of the credit for that has to go to Bradford. Here's Withers. Michael Withers, you know, has a fantastic record in the Challenge Cup. It's only the 4th season in which he's been involved in it, the Australian, the former Balmain player. But he scored 16 tries in 10 Challenge Cup ties, and he's scored in the last 6 in a row in which he's played. 3 hat-tricks in that sequence.
And still time this afternoon. Particularly if people like Anderson is forward, puts the platform and keeps making inroads into the Halifax Blue Sox defence. There will be gaps on the outside for the likes of Withers to exploit.
Shane McMenemy has come back on in place of Paul Davidson for Halifax. Henry Paul, so stylish in everything he does. Cardis beneath the high ball, and despite the distracting wave of the arm in front of Cardis's face by Henry Paul, it was a good take. Gary Mercer.
Mercer just trying to get a quick play of the ball, trying to get some kind of forward momentum going for Halifax.
Goldsmith. Moana. Last tackle. Kick is by Penkovic, the reserve hooker who's come on in place of Johnny Lawless.
Nice little pick up from Spruce. Good footwork as well, just to get away from the danger area, his own try line. Great pick up from the toes. Appeals for the penalty, doesn't get it.
Down on the touchline, I've got Paul Medley from the Bradford coaching staff. Paul, what did you say at half-time to the players? Not a lot needed saying, I don't imagine.
Well, the thing was, you just got to keep on going. We've put a great first half performance in, and the call was from Brown to keep on going in the second half.
Have you been surprised at the fairly weak challenge of Halifax? Let's be honest.
Well, I think the guys have been up for a big game. We knew it was going to be a tough game, local derby, and we've gone out with that frame of mind. I think we've shown that we were really up for this game.
It really bodes well for the season ahead.
Yeah, I mean, obviously it's early stages now. It's early in the season, but we're going out there to defend our Challenge Cup, and this is the first process in it.
Paul, thanks a lot.
Kick is by James Lowes. It's too strong. A reminder that Super League starts next weekend. Reference made there by Paul Medley to the start of the league campaign. Bradford up against St Helens at Valley Parade on Friday evening. Halifax at Huddersfield on Sunday afternoon. And then the following week, the quarter-finals of this Silk Cut Challenge Cup, in which Halifax seem very unlikely to be involved.
Back, back, back!
McMenemy.
Wait, Mike. Get him low.
Jamie Thackeray. Well picked up by Clinch. Doonerman. Gibson. Oh, it's gone awry again for Halifax.
This one off Halifax. Yeah, Jim.
Adam Hughes just pushing the hand out, not getting in the right place, not using his feet to get to the ball. There's a couple of sloppy passes in this passage of play. Doonerman pushes it wide. And then Adam Hughes spoiling what little chance Halifax have had with ball in hand.
Henry Paul. Expansive play now. Scott Naylor. Henry Paul again. The handoff of Cardis. The man outside is Vaikoda. Back with Henry Paul.
Great play again, Bradford, just keeping alive, supporting, making sure that there's always a man there available to take the pass. And the penalty coming because Halifax just have to slow the play the ball down. They want to get the troops back in defensive line. And Russell Smith really had no option but to give the penalty there.
Just wonder, watching this, Joe, whether the fact that this warning went out on the disciplinary front, which was not specifically intended for Halifax, but certainly aimed at them amongst others, has rather neutered their approach today, whether they've maybe been too conscious of that.
I don't think so. I think, the half-time analysis where the Bradford obviously dominated, I don't think it's been a lack of intensity by Halifax. I just think that everything that Bradford has done has been of the highest order. They have pushed the pass, though. They have made the ball available. They have supported well, and they've taken a little bit of a risk at times, and a little bit of a chance. It's paid off, and they are playing at 100 miles an hour, and Halifax just can't live with it.
Mercer. Gary Mercer and Brian Noble, in fact, were teammates donkeys years ago in the late 1980s when Gary Mercer first came across from his native New Zealand. Much water has passed under many bridges since then.
On the penalty for not being square at marker by Bradford, one of the rare penalties they've given away. You get the feeling that Bradford and Brian Noble, their coach, will be quite upset with the 6 points that Halifax have got, because they seem to have set their stall out to try and keep the score as low as possible against them, while continuing to pile up the points in their favour.
Penkovic at dummy half. Doonerman. Penkovic skipping round to Thackeray, and Thackeray trying to navigate a way over. Unfortunate to collide with the post as well as 2 or 3 Bradford players. Had the post not been there, his momentum might well have taken him over. Penkovic sounded like a knock-on.
No advantage, push Jimmy, don't push him. Push him. I'm waiting for the advantage in case he scored. Get off him. On your line.
Referee, though, spotting an infringement, which caused the semi-fumble. And the Halifax tap taken to Thackeray. The Blue Sox lining up on this near side. Clinch. Duneman. Shane McMenamin. Had to come back the other way. Jim Gannon was taken out in back play there by Paul Anderson. One or two accusing glances between the two. Goldsmith. Held by Forshaw.
Can't release the pass though, he's looking to get it away. Another penalty.
Jimmy Lowe's pulled it out.
James Lowe's pulling out, Russell Smith says.
Jimmy, go away.
There's the culprit, the score of the first try. Seems a long time ago. The first of 6 for Bradford. Duneman. Halifax across the line only once through Gary Mercer. Cardis running into his own man.
It may be the preferred option because the 3 white defenders of Bradford were ready to crunch him. Here's the chance, Duneman taken to the line.
Oh, Duneman's done well.
Scores, gets him down just inside the post. Bradford guilty for once of just hanging off and not taking the tackle. Not going up in the defensive line. And Duneman's too much experience for that. He'll seize every chance he gets. There haven't been many this afternoon's game, but here's one. The second try for the Halifax Blue Sox. A step, runs at Anderson, the bigger man, gets between 2 defenders. Spruce, the fullback, the last line of defence, can't stop him, and scores just at the side of the post.
What do you make of Jamie Bloom's kicking routine? It looks like something out of some martial arts video, the way he sets himself.
Well, it's effective. Missing the first, but kicking 2 others.
That was one of the easier attempts. He didn't go through the full routine, but a harder attempt in the first half. He had a pre-planned way of setting himself, but this was good play by Duneman.
It was, yes, ball in 2 hands, running at the bigger players in the middle of the field. Anderson wrong-footed, Forshaw and Spruce collide, don't make or complete the tackle, and Andrew Duneman, who we focused on before the game, I'm sure he'd like that try a little bit earlier.
10 up and get up and quick.
There's Mike Forshaw and Shane Regon, the Australian signed from the Sydney City Roosters, for whom he played in the Australian Grand Final last August. He's on in his place, wearing number 15.
Second half possession again, it continues. Halifax making a bit of fist of it. Time in the opponent's half though. They're just ahead on that one.
It's not all going Bradford's way. Mike Forshaw, the Great Britain international, has come off. He's on the bench. He's got a gashed eye. Looks quite nasty. May need stitches after the game. I think he's out of it for this afternoon anyway.
Gannon in the thick of matters. Unhappy that the touch judge didn't intervene. Peacock.
Bravely down to collect the ball. Just trying to wrestle him back to the ground.
Here's Shane Regon.
Wait, Sean.
Fielder. Lowe's. Anderson. Deacon. Gartner. And this has been the way with Bradford today. They need to reel off the names in rapid succession as they've thrown the ball about. Paul Anderson. Deacon. Trying to change his mind 2 or 3 times. Henry Paul. Withers with the kick that he would love to collect himself, but it's fielded well. Adam Hughes.
Get off!
Well, Hughes does well, gets away from a couple of tacklers, brings it back in field. But again, Bradford set themselves, that was high off Anderson. Planted his feet and lifted the arm.
Good all right. Wait a minute, Andrew.
Dinman Gibson is very elusive, and Anderson just got caught there, just wrong-footed, stretches out the left arm, catches him high. Henry Paul's there in support, but the penalty already given.
This all rather dispiriting for Halifax. They've been very innovative in their marketing policy. You can see there are plenty of children here, but also amongst senior citizens. They've got an offer of a season ticket for the Super League campaign for only £4.50 for pensioners, which works out at 32p a game. And needless to say, 1,000 people have taken up the offer. Here's Mercer. Now Clinch. Mercer. Penkovic. Oh, cleanly taken by James Lowes.
Well, you can bet they won't go the full length, but they look for support, and here's somebody who's a little bit quicker in Gilmore.
There was an incident there in back play in that Thackeray took out one of the Bradford players. Daniel Gartner was the one that was bowled over. Here's Spruce. Bradford's so dangerous in broken play. Was that forward?
That pass seemed forward.
Well, Vicona's got it and it's play on.
So strong. Tavita Vicona, hard to put down, and again, numbers on the left for Bradford if they can move it quickly.
Henry Paul. Paul Deacon. Held by Doonerman.
Release, Jim! Come back! Let him up!
Henry Paul.
Get up and quickly, get up! Let him up!
Here's Peacock. Oh, and Jamie Blue managed to turn him round.
And with the two players in the tackle, or did he just try and force it out himself?
Better advantage, I'm not having him. What a knock on by a Bradford player. The greater advantage is out here. Greater advantage is 10 metres out with 6 tackles as against being penned in the corner. It's a knock on by a Bradford player.
Well, Vicona lost a boot. Let's just have a little look back at that incident, though. There, in the middle of the picture, Thackeray taking out Daniel Gartner. But Bradford broke downfield and very nearly scored another try. Blue.
Let him up, Stu! One. Wait,
Thackeray. Oh, and Stuart Spruce didn't like that and went in with a fist, I think. And Thackeray has followed up in like fashion. And the fuse has been lit.
Yes, got it. Come away!
Spruce and Thackeray going at it hammer and tongs.
Come away! He just lost it, not push. Come away!
Well, this will take a very firm hand
Have a minute.
on the referee to calm this down.
Just back away. Just back away, steady. Joe, just listen, I've got it, just back away, please.
Mr. Smith quite happy that he
I'll just talk to place.
has seen clearly everything that happened.
Jamie! Listen, let's not get overexcited, mate, when we're running in. You do your job, don't be talking to him. Stu, we're swinging arms, mate. I know there's not a lot in it, but that's what aggravated the situation. Okay. Let's make a tackle, let's not bother swinging arms, OK?
That is very good refereeing from Russell Smith. Just calming it, diffusing it, explaining what he saw. Says there's not a lot in it. Stuart Spruce swinging the arm, taking exception. Thackeray saying he lost the ball there. Threw a punch with the right. No real damage done. But the intensity again just lifted a little bit. Frustration.
Come away!
This is Doonerman. Halifax have contributed more since half-time, but still not enough. Hobson. Trapper with Henry Paul.
Get away!
Tempers are becoming inflamed. And the sarcastic applause from James Lowes won't help the situation.
I'm not sure, started a little push there. Henry Paul and Hobson took exception to it.
Well, Russell Smith was selected specially for this game because he is known as a strong referee, and now he's going to have to be strong. He's reaching for his pocket.
Andy, persistent offences, go off. 10 minutes,
10 minutes in the bin.
Persistent offences, off you go. 10 minutes.
Andy Hobson. He was the man at the centre of the stormy 20-all draw between the sides here last season when Robbie Paul suffered those horrible injuries.
Hang on, Henry. Hang on, Henry.
Looks could kill.
Although the attempt was there, the swinging arm from Hobson. And he may have been lucky to get 10 minutes. I think James Lowes was lucky that he didn't land.
Brian McDermott.
Let him up, Jamie.
There's repetition that there's no great love lost between these two sides. Deacon. Fielder. Bradford with a one-man advantage and plenty of men over on the far side, but instead it's coming the near side with Naylor. And Scott Naylor, head down, over the line. That's his second try. And for Bradford, it's try number 7.
Well, the perfect reply, really. 2 chances, 2 penalties given away by Halifax. A little bit of frustration creeping in, and Bradford take that opportunity. Scott Naylor scoring the try. Again, offloads in the tackle, in traffic. Henry Paul pushing the pass out with the right arm. Scott Naylor comes back on the inside. Doesn't seem to be much on. Strains it, meets Daryl Cardis and takes him over the try line with him. And with one man off the field in the sin bin in Hobson for Halifax, then there are a few more gaps and a little bit easy for Bradford. It's been difficult for them when they've been at full complement, and with a man short, Bradford will exploit it.
A disconsolate group of Halifax players behind those posts.
Yes! Yes!
2 more from Henry Paul. And the People's team, the self-styled People's team, well ahead and heading for the quarter-final draw. No question of that. Scott Naylor crossing for the 2nd time today. He also scored 2 tries in round 4 against Widnes. Here are the other scores, and Doncaster are giving Huddersfield from the Super League a real run for their money at the McAlpine Stadium. There are 6 games apart from this being played in round 5. Humdinger at the Boulevard. Hull marginally ahead against the London Broncos, who are fancied to do much better this season with new recruits like Richie Barnett of New Zealand. Wakefield surviving at Oldham. That was a potential upset. Rochdale now with clear ground ahead of Villeneuve, the French representatives. And still this tide of indiscipline on the field of play here. And a real arm wrestle between Warrington of Super League and Lee of the NFP. That was high from Davidson in the action unfolding at the top of your screen. And last but not least, Whitehaven 18, St Helens the cup favourites 28, but Paul Cullins Whitehaven giving St Helens a closer game than they might have expected. We'll run down all those results for you at the conclusion of this game, and it'll be followed live by the quarter-final draw for this year's Silk Cut Challenge Cup. Warrington Lee though, Joe, which way do you see that one going?
Well, Lee don't know how to lose at the moment. They're playing with confidence, they're playing with commitment, and they're obviously giving Warrington a few problems. Top tackle is Bradford.
Robbie Paul is down here. I'll just leave it to you, John.
Here's with us. Just saw Henry Paul's name at the top of the tackle count. Robbie Paul we were hearing from. And on the far side it's Lee Gilmore. With us. Bradford doing very well to keep the ball alive, but Halifax looking tired. Last tackle. Needs a little bit of invention. And there it is. And the dive on the ball brings a try, does it? Well, they're going to go to the screen. It's Stuart Spruce who thinks he scored. Russell Smith wants confirmation.
Spruce is happy with it. He made contact and got it down. But he was trying to check. Russell Smith, you heard him say then he wants to check if the first grounding was by a Halifax player.
He's also just asked about the offside, just to make sure that that is an irrelevance. But Stuart Spruce has claimed the try. He's quite happy that he scored it, but there again he would be.
James Lowe steps up. There's no problem with the offside. And we'd have to see if Daryl Cardis gets a hand on it and grounds it. He doesn't. He swings the boot, and that will be a try. I don't think there's much for the video referee to mill over.
Is there an argument that Cardis was impeded by McDermott?
Possibly, just possibly, but I think the result will say clearly that Spruce has taken the try for Bradford.
The Bulls fans delighted. Stuart Spruce 2, Bradford's 8th try of the afternoon, takes Stuart Spruce past 250 points in his Bradford Bulls career.
Too many options for the Bradford Bulls. James Lowe's putting a little kick through. The call had obviously come before. McDermott is there, and Spruce gets a try. Henry Paul, as always, adds the 2.
9 successful kicks from Henry Paul.
In a top draw performance by Henry Paul too, in defence and attack, and his kicking may have to have an extension to the trophy cabinet for the man of the match.
Well, he won the Lance Todd Trophy at Murrayfield last April, and he is guiding the reigning cup holders towards the last stage of the competition very securely. Brian McDermott. Deacon. And it's been lost, and Gavin Clinch is unopposed, and it's a moment of scant consolation for Halifax as Gavin Clinch scores their 3rd try. Russell Smith, though, not happy, yet to be confirmed.
There's a man running one way and then the ball going other.
I think he, like many of us, just was a little confused at how it happened.
More than one in the tackle, but
With Bradford going downfield was suddenly turned into defence and chasing Gavin Clinch, and he's just going to check if it's one-on-one and how Gavin Clinch ended up with the ball in hand.
It's Daniel Gartner.
Steal, yeah, exactly, and there was nothing wrong with it. Great steal by Clinch. You have to give him credit for that. Awareness in the contact.
Video referee suddenly very busy after having had a quiet afternoon. Jamie Bloom's conversion is good. Is that a fair reflection of what we've seen so far?
I think so. There was no real smiles on the Halifax players, even when Clinch pinched this ball and planted it for the try. They realised that they've been well beaten this afternoon in most departments.
Down here on the touchline, I've got Henry Paul from the Bulls. Henry, a thoroughly professional performance by your side.
Definitely, you know, we came here with a mission. We knew Halifax would be tough and uncompromising, but yeah, we did our jobs. Everyone was professional, and we just, grounded out now.
But a niggle creeping in the last few minutes.
It always is. Everyone wants to win. Both teams. It's only what happens out on the field. Once we get in the bar, we'll probably have a drink together after the game.
People will be looking at you to go on now and actually win this trophy.
Well, we're looking at ourselves to win. We'd love to go back to Twickenham this year, something different. So, long way to go yet, though.
Thanks, Henry.
Cheers.
Just over 10 minutes to play. No doubt about the winners of this tie. Question only remains over the margin and over whether tempers have now cooled again. Doonerman escaping, finding Clinch and McMenemy. Back to Doonerman. This is rather what Bradford have been doing to Halifax, and now Halifax are doing it to Bradford. Mercer, Adam Hughes. Oh, was that high? Looked it.
Brian McDermott came in, collected. The referee instantly blowing the whistle as the Halifax players appeal for a high tackle.
Think you'll find, Gary.
Keith Leyland, the touch judge on the far side, is being called on.
Captains, please. Not a problem. I've got a decent view there. I've got a reasonable view. No, you didn't. Oh, my apologies. Sorry, Gary. Sorry. We've got a tackle there that part of the arm may have been close to the head. I didn't genuinely feel that there was any. It was more a reaction tackle, but part of the arm was close. I didn't think there was any deliberate action to it, but putting it on report for them to have a look at afterwards. Okay.
You're going to play on from there?
No, I'm going to penalise it.
Again, sensible referee
Anyway.
by Russell Smith, just checking as treatment is administered. There was contact with the head. The referee said he was in a good position, saw it, but just wanted to check, and he'll go on report to be viewed. Bit of a mismatch in height.
Well, the bad news is that there is genuine concern over Damien Gibson now. Helen Smith, the physiotherapist, was out there very quickly, but already they've signalled to the bench that there's no way he's going to be able to continue, and I have a feeling that they've called for a neck brace to be brought on. I mean, it looks good that he's actually getting up and sitting upright, but Brian McDermott will have his case considered in due course. There is the neck brace, ready to be sent on if required. Hopefully it won't be needed.
Good to see Damien Gibson walking off, albeit aided and assisted, and very groggy.
Time I come, please.
Duneman. McMenemy lost the ball. Oh, and then there was a foot that was high, and McMenemy and Lowe's have got an argument, but there's no argument about this. It's the flying to Vita Vancona, who's going to go all the way for Bradford.
Well, the story of the game continues. Tavita Vancona scored the try, but the chance for Halifax Blue Sox deep in Bradford's half, the spilled possession, and once Tavita Vancona had collected, the spilled push pass from Halifax. McMenemy spilling it, Lowe's picking up, offloaded to Vancona, and straight through what has, again to be said, weak defence. There's no stopping Tavita Vancona.
Vancona, who once scored 40 tries in a season for Hull. And with Henry Paul off the field, it's going to be Paul Deacon who'll take over the kicking duties.
Different players, same result. Another 2 points to Bradford. The try scored by the Tongan international, and Damien Gibson not really with us.
He follows in unhappy footsteps. Last year when we televised the game between Castleford and Halifax, it was his colleague Darryl Cardis who was stretchered off, having been laid out by Jamie Benn. Forward pass spotted by the referee.
The short kick-off that you mentioned, John, had been rehearsed by the Halifax Blue Sox. Hasn't really paid off. They did get a hand to it, but pushed it forward here, and it'll be a scrum feed to Bradford.
Down here on the touchline, Halifax Australian centre Damien Gibson's looking very groggy. Had a word with a physiotherapist and he's badly concussed. Looks in a bad way.
One of the big surprises so far is that Bradford have had 7 different try scorers, but Michael Withers, the cup specialist who we were focusing on a little earlier, has yet to cross the opponent's line.
On your 10, lads, wait, on your 10.
A lost ball there by Bradford. Lee Gilmore, I think, has just either got cramp or has pulled a hamstring.
Here's Cardis. Gannon. Clinch. Gilmore a passenger on the far side. Duneman to Mercer. Lawless. Oh, Adam Hughes. Round his bootlaces.
Well, trying to exploit the weakness with Gilmour being on the sideline, and the physiotherapist indicating there's no further part to be played by Lee Gilmour, but the pass couldn't be collected.
1 minute, lads. Just have a minute. Hold in 5, Andrew. Just wait, lads, just wait.
Bradford have played in 3 of the last 5 Silk Cup Challenge Cup finals. 6 semi-finals in 9 years, and on the verge of yet another quarter-final. Halifax, in contrast, are going to fail to reach the last 8 of the competition for the first time in the past 5 seasons. Joe Banganar needs a runner. Tried to dummy himself, which was pretty successful.
Pulling Robbie Paul back, penalty.
But a penalty given because Robbie Paul was pulled back.
Penalties 9-all, close in that department, but the score, Halifax only 18 points from Bradford, looking to make it 60 here.
Brian McDermott lost part of the number on the back of his shirt.
Back up, on.
Vicona. He's in. Try number 10.
Time, please. Oh, totally blind.
But it's going to be more work for the video referee.
Penalty game with none of them we got 3.
Vicona is confident. He's going to check the ground in. Yep. Total control. As he crossed and planted the ball. And again, it'll be an easy decision for the video referee. This will be another try for Bradford.
Ray Tennant is the video official today, former top flight referee himself. 3rd time he's been called upon. And Bradford move into the 60s, 60 points to 18.
Well, the referee uses a foil on that occasion, had to duck out of the way of the pass.
You can see behind the post that many of the Halifax supporters are leaving.
Let's see if Paul Deacon can give them a ball to take with them.
Yes!
The answer is yes, straight between, collected by a ball boy, but the 2 points collected by Bradford. And the 60 mark has been passed. 62 points, Halifax 18, and they have struggled all afternoon. The fans start to depart from the new shade, the Halifax fans. Bradford fans still here, they're going to cheer their team to the end and hope for a few more points. Vicona just stepping inside, using his power. Yet another try for Bradford.
Oh, arm in the face there from Gannon on Fielden. Fielden is angry, he's actually picked out the wrong man in Johnny Lawless. It was Gannon that put his hand in Fielden's face. May have been that Lawless was culpable as well. Gannon holding Fielden from behind. And there was the hand right in the face.
Not like you, Johnny. Just have a word with Jim, hands across face. John, brilliant last couple of minutes, mate. Decided whether it's up to you whether you want to stop on or go off. Keep it out then. Jim, back off, cool it down.
Didn't have to phone a friend,
do it.
did he?
I know you provoke, mate. Just keep quiet, keep laughing, let me blow the penalties. All right?
Man of the match, Henry Paul. No arguments there. Nor over the result as a whole. Here's Regon. Bradford looking for more. Withers is going to get his try. The run continues. 7 cup ties in a row. 17 tries in 11 Challenge Cup matches for Michael Withers.
No need for the video referee on this one. Again, the referee in a good position, along with his touch judge. A kick over the top, a planned call. Didn't go back to see whether he was onside. The kind bounce for Bradford. The pass was good. And the run of tries continues for Michael Withers. And for the Bradford Bulls. Again, the Halifax Blue Sox slow to react to the bounce of the ball. Withers set sails for the corner.
What a start for Brian Noble. 5.5 years as the assistant to Brian Smith and Matthew Elliott. And now his first real test with respect to Widnes, who Bradford played in the previous round. His first test against a comparable side. And it's a test that they've passed with great distinction. Deacon's kick.
When the team's on form, it runs through the team. Withers scores, Deacon adds another 2.
No time to restart. Bradford Bulls, 11 tries, and today simply unstoppable.
Dominant from start to finish, able to push the pass and create chances, and a platform by the big forwards was gratefully accepted and exploited by the back.